two has so Paul's going to keep them together and we're strapping them with rubber bands and let them move. what do you think you're saying about that?
Welcome to Willoughby government. Enter your participant ID. Please enter the meeting group code followed by the code. You have joined the meeting as an attendee and will be muted throughout the meeting. The host would like you to unmute your microphone. You are unmuted. You are muted.
I know I'm the last person who should say this, but Monday nights and Fridays are long days. I know, that's why I said it. I shouldn't say it in front of you. That it's been a long day. It's a long day for me. I'm sure it's a very long day for you. Well, this morning kind of went like that. I feel like yesterday went by really slow, even though it was a half a day. Well, I'm glad about that. I'm good. I'm glad. Yeah. Me too. In case you haven't noticed.
Hey, chat. Sorry about that. Oh, boy. Did not expect that to take that long. Uh-oh. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. The post office errand turned a bit longer than I thought it was going to be. Yeah. So, my bad. Here we go, chat. Here again. No, I did not get a speeding ticket, I promise.
All right, could we have Ms. McCabe, please?
All right, chat, let's get this show on the road.
And I'll remind you, you're still under oath.
All right, Mr. Lally, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Mom. Now, Ms. McCabe, if I could take you back just to a little bit from where we had left off. When you arrived at the residence at 34 Fairview Road, you pulled into the driveway, is that correct?
I believe so.
And obviously, on that date, you were familiar with the types of vehicles that your parents drove?
Yes.
And did you see any of your parents' vehicles at the home when you pulled in and parked in the driveway?
No.
And when you got to the house at any point, did you exit the car or go inside the house?
No.
So you texted him that you were there, and you stayed in the car, and he came out.
Yes.
And when Colin came out to the car, what, if any, observations did you make of him in regards to his sobriety, as far as what, if any, observations did you make in respect to that?
Normal.
Didn't seem overly intoxicated to you?
No.
And as far as his face or features, or from whatever you could see, what, if any, injuries did you observe on Colin when he came out?
None.
And how would you describe his demeanor when he came out and he got into the car?
Normal.
Now, during the course, you drove from the Fairview home to Colin's house, is that right?
Yes.
And where was Colin living at that point?
I don't know the address, but his new house, not the one where he was neighbors with John, the newer house.
And if you could, just generally speaking, where was that in relation to the town of Canton? What was it?
It's in the center of town, close to the library.
And do you recall, or do you know what type of residence that is?
Yes, it's like condos. I'm not sure exactly, but yeah, townhouses.
As far as your drive from the residence in Fairview to Colin's house, did you make any stops along the way?
No.
About how long a drive is it from Fairview to Colin's new house?
7 minutes, 5 minutes.
And when you arrived there, what did you observe Colin do?
Got out of the car, went inside, got the key, locked it, went inside.
And is that something as far as did you wait for him to get inside?
Yes.
And why was it?
I always wait for him because it's like how he has to open the first door to get inside. So I usually just wait for everyone to get inside.
And during the car ride from Fairview to Colin's house, do you recall anything specific about, did you have a conversation with him?
Probably. I don't remember what we were talking about.
And then following that, where did you go?
I believe home.
And when you got home, were either of your parents home at that point?
No.
Do you know about what time it was that you got?
Not exactly. I would estimate a little bit before 12:30, around that time.
And at any point in time over the rest of the course of that evening, did you see your parents? Did you talk to your parents or anything like that?
I know I talked to my dad on the phone when we found the dog. Other than that, no.
And so after your return home, when you went to bed or you went to sleep, were your parents home at that point?
No.
About how much time was it between the time when you got home, around 12:30 or so, and when you went to sleep?
Not long. I don't know.
Now, turning your attention to the following day, at some point you woke up, correct?
Yes.
And were your parents home at that point?
Yes.
And were both of your parents home at that point?
Yes.
Do you know about what time it was that you woke up the next morning?
No, I do not.
Now, Ms. McCabe, at some point in August of 2023, did you have occasion to meet with some troopers from the state police?
Yes, I believe. I'm not sure what time, but on a Zoom.
And was that one trooper or more than one trooper or something?
I believe 2. I'm not sure.
Can you recall any of the names of any of those troopers?
Yuri maybe was one of them. I'm not sure.
I'm sorry, just gonna wait for that. And now, ma'am, following that meeting that you had with troopers from the state police, what, if anything, did you provide to them from your phone?
Text messages with Colin, maybe pictures. I don't know. Definitely the text messages.
And before we get to that, just as far as your phone, what kind of phone did you have at that time?
I believe an iPhone 14 Pro Max, maybe.
And I should have been more specific as far as the time, but the iPhone you're talking about as far as the Pro Max, was that in January of 2022
Oh, I'm sorry.
or in August of 2020?
That was in August.
And between January of 2022 and August of 2023, did you have the same phone throughout that time period?
I'm not sure. I believe I upgraded. Yeah.
And when you upgraded your phone, what, if any, data sort of carried over from the old phone to the new phone?
Everything.
So as far as chats or text messages or phone contacts, things like that, all of that transferred from one phone to the new phone?
Correct.
And Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
And so first thing I'm going to show you a 2-page document. You guys should go take a look at it and look up.
Okay.
And do you recognize that, man?
Yes.
And what do you recognize that?
This is from my phone, my text messages.
And the second page, what is that?
Colin's contact information.
Are those screenshots that you took from your phone and provided to the troopers in August of 2023?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. Yes.
May I approach you in your
Yes.
call out the seat and use the as objection that has to be heard.
Okay, come on up and bring that.
All right, so let's see what they're gonna do, chat. Yeah, did you upgrade because of your birthday? Yeah, this is all just yeah. Not really too sure, chat. I'm not really too sure there. Gypsy Soul, you want to know the story of this painting? Hold on here. That is an appellate court from somewhere. It's in New York City. It's like the first appellate district or division. And I just thought it was cool, like the women of justice. Oh, there's our boy Larry, DUI guy. Hi, Larry. Looking snazzy tie. I do like the tie. Very nice. Very nice. But that painting, I just thought it looked cool and I needed a background. And then, I added the goddesses of justice acting like gangsters with their Ray-Bans on and, they're tooled up and pile of cash in the middle. And, she's got like an AK and everything. So I just thought it was kind of funny to play with it. So that's all it is. That's all that really is. So. So that's all we're dealing with there. Do want to say 223 people here. Thank you for watching, guys. Thank you so very much for being here. Larry's checking out the jury, yeah. And it sounds like Larry is saying so far that the jury's not really, they're checked out. So, yeah. And Gypsy Soul, I hope that answers your question. Why I picked that. I picked it and I played with it a little bit and I just thought it'd be kind of neat.
Step out for just a few minutes.
Oh, we're going to have a real discussion now, chat. This is going to be good. Uh-oh. Okay, something's going down. He's got a full notepad there, so yeah, I bet he's taking a lot of notes. All right, let's see, guys. Let's see what this is.
I could excuse for 1 second just to pick up something. It's up right in the hallway.
Okay.
If you could just briefly explain to the witness what's occurring.
Yes, I just need Miss Giannetti back.
Sorry.
Okay. So, thank you. And the next two, if they would be marked separately, please.
Oh, Snark, I want to make sure you got my email. I did send it out to you. Yeah, nothing substantive has come out yet. There has been no bombshell. What's going on?
Right, the lawyers are going to get to ask you a few questions now before we go any further.
Oh,
in
we're
front
gonna
of
do
the
some
jury.
voir dire.
Okay.
Mm.
So, Mr. Lally, you can take the exhibits back and you can question this witness, and then Mr. Yannetti can cross-examine.
Ooh.
May I approach with?
Yes.
Here we go. It's gonna be interesting.
So, Ms. McCabe, with reference to the two screenshots that we were just talking about before the jury left the room, those are screenshots that you took from your own phone, correct?
Correct.
And as far as the communications contained therein, is it your memory that those are communications that you had with Colin Albert?
Why don't you ask her what they are, non-leading?
Those screenshots, as far as the communications, what are they? When were they done?
At a later date. Is that what you're asking? Sorry.
So I'm asking, as far as the actual content of the conversations, when did those conversations occur?
January 28th.
Text from
And,
Colin.
you were a participant in those conversations?
Yes.
And as far as the content of those conversations, is it your memory that the content reflected there is accurate as to what the content of the conversations were between yourself and Colin Albert the evening of the 28th into the 29th?
Yes.
And Colin Albert was somebody that you were familiar with, correct?
Yes.
And beyond what's contained within these screenshots, you had other text communications with Colin Albert using the same contact information.
Correct.
And how is it that you knew or were aware that the person or the contact that you were talking to was Colin Albert?
Because it's his phone.
With reference to that contact you had in your phone for Colin Albert, had you called that number before?
Yes.
When you called the number, who answered?
Colin.
And when you had texted Colin on prior occasions using that contact information, did you have any, you have a text communication, did you have any subsequent conversation in relation to the content of those text communications?
Sorry, can you rephrase that?
And I'm not just asking specifically about these. What I'm saying is you have contact information in your phone for Colin Albert.
Yes.
And on any of those prior occasions when you had texted that contact information, you put in as Colin Albert into your phone. And just to be clear, you were the one who input that number as Colin Albert in your phone.
Yes.
And so on this or any prior occasions when you had contacted via text that contact of Colin Albert in your phone, following those text communications, did you have any conversation with Colin Albert related to the content of those communications?
Sorry, I'm confused.
Do you understand the question?
No,
You have to make
All right.
these simpler. Let's try and get through this voir dire, Mr. Lally.
At some point during the course of your, how long had you had Colin's contact information?
For a while, years.
And over the course of those years, had you had conversations related to content in text in person?
Oh, yes.
And as far as the content that you had texted to that number you associated or input as Colin Albert, was Colin Albert aware of the content of those text communications?
Oh, correct. Yeah.
And within those specific screenshot of the text communications from that evening, as far as your recollection of that particular evening, are the times that are associated with those accurate as far as your memory?
Yes.
And did you do anything to alter the times that are associated with those text communications prior to taking a screenshot and giving it to the state police?
No.
Now turning to the other two screenshots that you took, those are photographs, correct?
Did I take them?
I'm just asking what they are.
Oh, both pictures of Colin. One's with my aunt. The other's just him and some other people blocked off.
And do you know when and where those were taken?
Yes, they were taken at the Albert's house. One of their sons were coming home from the Marines, so it was like a welcome home party.
And when was that in relation to the evening of January 28th to 29th?
A few weeks after.
And that sort of coming home celebration for your cousin who was coming home from the Marines, were you there for that?
Yes.
And so as far as your observation of those photographs is what's depicted of Colin Albert, is that a fair and accurate portrayal of what he looked like on February 11th?
Yes.
I have nothing further.
All right, Ms. Giannetti?
Thank you, Ron. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How long have you had an iPhone? I'm not talking about your current iPhone, but just iPhones in general.
For years.
More than 5 years?
Yes.
And how old are you now?
I'm 20.
20. And when did you get your first iPhone, if you remember?
I don't remember.
12, 13?
Yeah, around middle
So
schoolish.
maybe 7 or 8 years. Is that a decent estimate?
Yes.
And in those 7 or 8 years, you have learned how to operate an iPhone, the various features that they have and the apps that you can download and use, correct?
Correct.
And your current iPhone has a number of apps on it, correct?
Correct.
With regard to the text message app, you'll agree with me that that is a green icon with a white sort of speech bubble in the middle of it.
Yes, I believe.
And you know that when you click on that, it gives you a list of the text messages that you're exchanging with people, the various threads, correct?
Correct.
You know that if you click on a thread, it opens up the individual text messages that you've sent and received to that particular person, correct?
Correct.
And you know that if you take your finger or your thumb and you hold it on one particular text that's either sent to you or from you, you can do things with that individual text, correct?
Correct.
You can
do you mean?
forward it to somebody else, right?
Correct, I believe.
In the context of a conversation, you can just reply to that one particular text message, right?
Correct.
And if you do that, rather than hit the arrow button where you forward or reply, on the left side of the screen, there's a trash can, correct?
I'm not sure.
You know that you can delete a text from a thread, correct?
Correct.
All right. And it's a trash can that you click on, right?
Correct.
I'm not trying to trick you.
No, I was confused. Sorry.
No, I understand. I don't mean to confuse you. So you know that if you click on the trash can, it gives you an option to either cancel or to delete the message, correct?
Correct.
And what happens if you delete the message?
It's deleted off the phone.
Okay, so it's gone from that thread, correct?
Correct.
And somebody looking at a screenshot that you take after you've deleted that message, it wouldn't be evident that that message was ever there, correct?
Correct.
Now, you testified at a hearing in Boston on August 3rd
Very
of
true.
2023, correct?
Correct.
That was, and we're not with a jury present, that was a federal grand jury, correct?
Correct.
And you had, by that point, by August of 2023, you no longer had the phone that you originally had on January 29th of 22, correct?
Yes, I believe so.
You had gotten a new phone in December of 2022, correct?
Okay, I'm not sure what time, but
Does that?
yeah, I got a new
Right.
phone. I believe I got a new phone.
But, and actually, the timing is not that important, just that it was before that grand jury appearance.
Okay, yes.
All right. And what did you do with the old phone when you got the new phone?
Transfer through iCloud, everything transfers over.
Okay, but I'm actually talking about the hardware itself.
Oh, what did I do?
iPhone.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yes, I'm sorry. Not the data on the phone. I understand that you've testified that you transferred that to the new phone, but the actual physical phone itself, where did that go when you got the new phone?
I'm not sure.
Would that have been traded in?
Possibly.
You don't have it now, correct?
I don't think, no.
And as of August of 2023, you didn't have it either, correct?
Correct.
Is it fair to say that no investigator from this case ever asked you for that phone that you had on January 29th?
Correct.
They
Right, so,
never-
Ms. Giannetti, can we just focus on the voir dire? All that you're doing, you can cross-examine her with, but on the voir dire of this.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure.
I just like to get the jurors back in.
No, I understand, Your Honor. I understand. I was trying to lay a foundation, but maybe it's not necessary. With regard to,
If you need to do it, go ahead. I'm just trying to.
I want to accommodate the court, Your Honor. With regard to the messages that are in a given thread, right? We've talked about the fact that you are aware that you can reply to them, an individual message, forward or delete one, correct?
Correct.
You're also aware that it is possible to change the timestamp on any individual message, correct?
No, I'm not aware of that.
You go to settings and you go to general and you go to date and time. First of all, you can change the time zone of the message. Do you have your iPhone with you right now?
Not on me.
Not on. And in addition to being able to change the time zone, you actually can change the hour and minute to whatever you want it to be. Were you aware of that?
No.
With regard to photos on your phone, you are aware that you can change the date and time of any photo in your photo app, correct?
Nope.
There is a little, when you go to your iPhone, there's a little I for information. And all you need to do is, I think it's for info or information. All you need to do is click on that and you get a pop-up from the bottom that gives you the choice to alter the date and time. Did you know that?
No.
Next to that
She
date and
might
time
not
is the
actually
word
know this.
adjust, and that's all you have to click on. And you can change the time from 12:10 a.m., or you can change it from 12:40 a.m. to 12:10 a.m., or you can change it from 1:45 to 12:10 a.m. And it's that easy.
Yep. Now I know. I didn't know that. I didn't do that.
If I may have a moment.
Okay.
Yeah, you got to be careful here, Yannetti. I don't know. She says that she doesn't know.
That's it for the voir dire.
Okay. So I'm going to allow this testimony in. Your argument goes to the weight of the evidence, not its admissibility. But I did, under Commonwealth versus Tracci, want to give you your voir dire. Okay. All right. So let's bring the jurors back in.
Also, guys, real quick, Turtle Boy brings up an interesting point that I wasn't aware of. I thought the FBI had been involved the entire time.
D-U-R-D-Y. Your Honor, before the jurors come back in, may I just retrieve the exhibits?
Yes, but I'd like to see counsel at sidebar while they're coming in.
This is nothing even Turtle Boy saying Auntie Bev and Morrissey tried hard to prevent the FBI from bringing the investigation in. They told the defense they couldn't bring it up. I didn't know that. I thought that was allowed. I didn't know that was prohibited or emotionally limiting for that. And Ryan Nagel mentioned it. I noticed that like Lally didn't fucking freak out. So I thought that was already kind of like assumed was going to happen. But that's a big deal. If that was never meant to come in or was never going to be part of the trial, then yeah, that's not good for the state. Now the jury knows the FBI is looking into it. So that is a very good thing. I thought that was already part of the situation, though. I already thought that was part of the situation.
Hunter, I think we should sit. Oh, sorry.
So I don't know. Yeah, I hope that makes sense to you guys there. You know, Karen's wearing stylish, wearing a nice sweater vest. Yeah, Karen's actually. When we watch these cases, a lot of the defendants aren't very
Of course,
don't look good dressed, but Karen looks very good.
I apologize.
Yes, Karen is a professor. She's a financial professional. She's got a lot. Karen is, yeah, she's a finance, like she teaches college classes. She has experience doing finance in the professional sector. She's a very professional, CV. Who's the blonde from Whoville in the foreground? Isn't she loaded? She's well off, but she had to raise a lot of money for this anyway. But yeah, she wasn't eating SpaghettiOs to start with. Why is Karen socializing with meathead idiots? Maybe she really liked John O'Keefe. And that's who he associated with, but she really liked them, so she was willing to put up with them. Don't really know. Don't really know. Okay, and if you guys were wondering what that text was, we actually have a copy of that text from between Allie and Colin. So here it is. So let's get back to the show.
And Mr. Lally, I have an instruction to give if you're going to put in that screenshot.
Yes.
Okay. Jurors, remember, I've told you this before you consider any electronic communication in your deliberations, you must find first that it is more likely true than not that the person who authored or sent the communication was in fact either Colin Albert or Ms. Allie McCabe. If you do not find that it's more likely true than not that Ms. McCabe or Mr. Albert was the person who authored or created or transmitted the electronic communication, then you cannot consider that communication in your deliberations. So with that, Mr. Lally?
Thank you. And Your Honor, the first 2 pages that's been marked AA, Commonwealth would seek to introduce and admit as the next exhibit.
Okay, those may be admitted.
And subject to our conversation at sidebar.
Yes.
And Your Honor, if I may just approach to return it to the witness.
Sure.
Thank you.
Now, Ms. McCabe, with reference to, well, before we get into that, you had an iPhone at the time of January 26th, is that correct?
Correct.
And with respect to your friend Colin Alberts, as far as his contact information within your phone, who entered that in your phone?
I did.
And prior to that date of January 28th into the 29th of 2022, had you had phone conversations where you would sort of press the button to call that number and it rang, correct?
Correct.
And who, if anyone, answered the phone when you contacted that phone number in your phone?
Colin.
Now, with reference to Colin and the contact in your phone, had you had prior text communications with Colin using that contact that you put in?
Correct.
And outside of those text communications that you had, did you have sort of physical in-person conversations with Colin in regard to content that was within text messages you have with that content?
Yes, I assume so.
And specifically on that date of January 28th and the 29th, when you arrived at the home on Fairview Road, you texted Colin that you were there?
Yes.
And after you texted him that, what, if anything, happened after that?
He responded saying okay, and then he came out to the car.
And Your Honor, if I may, with the court's permission, just publish the text communication to the jury on the screen.
Yes.
sorry, Ms. Gilman, if you could scroll down a bit. Now, what's up on the screen, Mr. Cave, is that what you have before you as the exhibit?
Yes.
And looking at, there's sort of one side has text and one side has a blue bubble, is that correct?
Yes.
And if you know who is communicating with who as far as the sort of plain text outside of the bubble?
Colin and I? Is that what you're asking? Sorry.
What I'm asking is, who's the blue bubble?
Oh, sorry. I'm the blue bubble and he is the gray, whitish bubble.
And from sort of top of what's depicted on the screen, you read the text that you received and the time that you received.
Yes. 11:54, and then I responded at 11:55.
And what did Colin say at 11:50?
You can get me now if easier.
And what did you respond?
Okay, I am driving people home now.
And what did Colin respond to that, and what time did he respond?
He responded, word, get me after.
And this is when you could scroll down. And following the getting after, what if any response did you provide?
KK, okay, and here,
And here that you texted, what time does that read on the screenshot?
12:10 a.m.
And what if anything did Colin respond to your text?
He responded at the same time saying, okay.
I'm assuming you can take that. May I approach this to retrieve your?
Yes.
Oops. Do you need that? Thank you. Okay, thank you.
So the next two pages, two separate pages, contain photographs, is that correct?
Yes.
And you recognize what's depicted in those photographs that I've just placed before you?
Yes.
What do you recognize those to?
It's Colin. Is that what you're asking?
Well, let me ask you more specifically.
Okay.
So, were these also screenshots that you provided to troopers of the state police in August of 2020?
Yes. I believe so.
Sound again. All right, guys, hold on. Yeah. And that's a funny thing. I even closed out extra tabs and crap. I closed out as much crap as I could. Even more. There's only it's paused, so we'll get right back into it. All right, here we go. Suddenly the whole stream goes bang. Yeah, I don't know what happened, guys, but we'll back it up a hair. Here you go.
No, I'm going to let her testify when they're taken.
And so February 11th of what year, ma'am?
No, you have to research stream here at
2022.
DW. I don't know
A few
what the
weeks
deal
after
is.
January 28th, 29th, correct?
Yes.
And were you present at the Albert's house on the evening of February 11th when they were taken?
Yes.
And what was the purpose of yourself and or Colin or anybody being over the Albert's house on that day?
One of Nicole and Brian's sons were coming home from their Marines, so there was like a welcome home party with family and friends.
And that is your cousin Jack, is that correct?
Correct.
And as far as what's contained in those photographs, is that a fair and accurate portrayal as far as your memory of what Colin looked like on February 11th?
Correct.
And Your Honor, may I approach again?
Yes.
Almost will seek to introduce in a minute the next two exhibits. Again, subject to our discussion.
Sure. Okay. Yes, those are clear.
And then just returning those to you. And first, I would direct your attention to what's been now marked as Exhibit 82. Ms. Gilman, with the court's permission, may I publish those to the juries?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I just have a moment?
Yes.
If you could just enlarge that a bit. And do you recognize what's now up on the screen is what
They look like a couple of douchebags.
Yes.
And if you could just describe to the jury sort of what we're looking at in this photograph, who's picking.
Colin and my auntie Coco.
And your auntie Coco is also Nicole Albert.
Yeah. Yes, Nicole.
And if I could direct your attention to the next exhibit for you, exhibit 83. I'm going to pull that up on the screen. And just go in if you could.
Yes. Colin's holding evidence, chat. The red Solo cup.
And, again, what's up on the screen, is that what you have before you as exhibit 83?
Yes.
This is the same evening, is that correct?
Correct.
You know where in the house this photograph was taken?
I believe they call it their library. Maybe it's the room in the back.
And as far as what's contained in this photograph in reference to your friend Colin Albert, as far as his face, his arms, his hands, is that fair and accurate portrayal of what he looked like on February 11th?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Ms. Gilman, you can take it. Your Honor, may I approach one more time just
Yes.
to retrieve?
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Okay. Cianetti?
It's like every asshole in Boston. Well, that's a lot of them.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Ms. McCabe, you have known Colin Albert your whole life, correct?
Correct.
Your mother is Jennifer McCabe.
Correct.
His mother is Julie Albert,
Correct.
and her maiden name was Julie Daniel.
Correct.
Your mother, Jennifer, grew up together with his mother, Julie, correct?
Correct.
You and Colin are extremely close, correct?
Yes.
In fact, you would consider Colin Albert to be one of your best friends in the world, correct?
Yes, he's one of my best friends.
Now, you claim that you took a screenshot of a text conversation that you had with Colin Albert on January 29th of 2022, correct?
Correct.
Those were the screenshots that were just shown to this jury this afternoon, correct?
Correct.
And you claim that the information on that screenshot actually existed on January 29th, correct?
Correct.
Did you tell your mother, Jennifer McCabe, that you had that text conversation with Colin Albert anytime after January 29th of 2022?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you give to your mother, Jennifer McCabe, a screenshot of that text message conversation?
Objection.
Sustained.
It's fair to say that on January 29th, 30th, 31st, you did not turn over that screenshot to any law enforcement official, correct, of 2022?
No, I was never asked.
No investigator from this case ever asked you for copies or a copy of that screenshot of that text message conversation on January 29th, 30th, or 31st, correct?
Correct.
They also did not ask you for a copy of that screenshot through the whole month of February, correct?
Correct.
In fact, all of 2022, no investigator ever approached you to say, can I have a copy of that screenshot, correct?
Correct.
And in addition to that, you never called an investigator to say, hey, I have a copy of a screenshot of a text message conversation that I had with Colin Albert, correct?
No, it wouldn't have been relevant at that time,
Okay.
I believe, because Colin was not at the house and wasn't introduced as being there until later.
So your testimony today is that at no time in the year 2022 did you consider it relevant at all that you had this screenshot of this text conversation, correct?
Correct.
Leaving that screenshot aside, but actually, before I leave that topic, you didn't turn over that screenshot of a text message until sometime during the summer of 2023, correct?
Correct.
About a year and a half or more after January 29th of 2022, correct?
Yes, when I was asked.
And by that time, the summer of 2023, you had already switched phones, correct?
Yes, I believe.
In other words, the iPhone that you had on January 29th of 2022, you no longer have possession of that physical phone, correct?
Correct.
It's doing it again. Ah, son of a bitch. Chat, I don't know what to do. I refreshed Chrome everything. I don't know why StreamYard is shitting the bed. All right, hold on here. Yeah, I don't know what's up. It's a little annoying. All right, chat, let's try this again. I don't know how to fix it otherwise. I told StreamYard it's not working before, but
The phone, your current phone?
Correct.
Now, before you got rid of the old phone and got the new one, did any law enforcement official, prior to that December of 2022 time period, or investigator from this case ever ask to examine your physical phone itself?
No.
Did they ever say to you, we would like to do what's called an extraction on your phone?
No.
And you never gave that phone at any point to any law enforcement official before you got rid of it, correct?
Correct.
And the first time that you mentioned that text conversation outside your family was August 3rd of 2023, correct?
Correct.
That was at a proceeding in Boston, correct? Correct. Where neither Mr. Lally or Ms. McLaughlin are we with it.
Objection, Your Honor.
Yeah, move along, Mr. Yannetti.
Yes. That proceeding in August of 2023 was
Charlie, this is a
less
StreamYard
than
thing.
a year ago, correct?
It's not the
Or in May of
YouTube channel.
2024?
This is
Correct.
StreamYard.
And that was a
Brought it up.
long time after John O'Keefe was found dead on Brian Albert's lawn, correct?
Correct.
And that August of 2023, when you're revealing that text exchange, that was over a year and a half after January 29th of 2022, correct?
Correct.
And leaving aside the screenshot, as of August 3rd of 2023, no investigator from this case, no state police trooper or anybody from the DA's office had ever interviewed you, right? Prior to August of 2023?
I talked to the state troopers, but I don't know if that was before or after.
That was on August 25th of 2023, which is about 3 weeks after your testimony in the other proceeding. Does that refresh your memory?
Yes, then after.
And
Yeah,
at that point in time, on August 25th of 2023, you'll agree with me that you were not interviewed at a police station or a state police barracks, correct?
correct,
Or the DA's office, correct?
correct,
You were interviewed by Zoom, correct?
correct.
And you were not alone at that time in your home, correct?
I'm not sure.
Your mother, Jennifer McCabe, was present, correct?
Okay.
And she was monitoring what was going on in that interview, correct?
Objection.
Was that true?
I don't recall.
Okay. In any case, that too was over a year and a half after January 29th, correct?
Correct.
All right. Now, I'd like to ask you some questions about, oh, by the way, you've had an iPhone since you were 12 or 13 years old,
Correct.
and you're now how old?
20.
So 7 or 8 years would be a good estimate as to how long you've worked with iPhones?
Correct.
And obviously you know how an iPhone works, correct?
Correct.
You know how to reply and comment on text messages, correct?
Correct.
And you know that there's a lot of tools open to you to comment on text messages, correct?
Correct.
You can reply to a text using an icon or an emoji, right? To like or dislike something that somebody else said.
Correct.
You can laugh at it, you can love it, you can like it, correct?
Objection.
Right?
Correct.
And they make it pretty easy, right? All you need to do is put your finger or your thumb on a specific message and hold it down and options appear, correct?
Correct.
And that's where you get the thumbs up, the thumbs down, the ha-ha, exclamation points, question mark, etc.
Correct.
And you also have other options, which is down the bottom, there's a kind of a curved arrow where if you click on that, you can forward the message or reply to a specific message, correct?
Correct.
And on the left, there's a trash can, right?
Correct.
And what happens when you click on the trash can?
It will delete the message from your phone.
And it's your testimony that with regard to the screenshot that we saw, there are no deleted messages in that conversation, correct?
Yes.
However, you would agree, as you've already testified, that if a message had been deleted from a screenshot, we'd never know, right?
True.
You're also familiar with the apps that are on iPhones, correct?
Correct.
You have a number of apps on your iPhone, right?
Correct.
Might be 12 or 15, I haven't counted them, but 12 or 15 maybe on your home screen, right?
Correct.
And if you swipe to the left, you get another new population of 12 or 15.
Correct.
Not bad for an old guy.
Yeah.
You use apps like Instagram.
Correct.
Snapchat is a popular app.
Correct.
And probably to your detriment, but Life 360.
Correct.
All right. That's been an app in the McCabe family for a number of years, right?
Correct. Yes.
And it's in your family anyway, and probably in a lot of families, it's mainly used for the parents to keep track of their kids, right?
Correct.
And in order for Life 360 to work, you have to have your location services on, and somebody else has to have the app and is in the family, correct? Connected to you?
Correct.
And with regard to, just going back to the messages for a minute, do you know the difference between an iMessage and a text message?
Yes, I believe one's blue and one's green.
Okay. The screenshots that we saw of your text conversation that you say that you had with Colin Albert, you were in blue, right?
Correct.
That means that Colin Albert also had an iPhone at the time, correct?
Correct.
Now, with regard to the timestamp on those messages, the conversation about I'm here, I believe, gave the time 12:10 a.m., correct?
Correct.
Are you aware how easy it is to change that time?
No.
Are you aware that all you need to do is go from settings to general, and then there's a date and time that you can alter?
Objection.
Hmm.
Are you aware of that?
No, I didn't know that was a thing.
You know that when you set up your iPhone, you have to choose a time zone, correct?
Correct.
And you always choose the New York time zone because that's where Boston is, right?
Correct.
Are you aware that if you go into settings, general, and then date and time, you can change the time zone to wherever you're going?
I guess I didn't. Once I set my phone up, I have no reason to change the time.
See? And in addition to changing the time zone, you literally can choose any time that you want. You could make 1:45 a.m. 12:10 a.m. in about 3 seconds. Did you know
Objection.
that?
Do you know that? Do you know that?
No.
But if I'm not accusing you of this now, but if you had changed the time on that from a screenshot, we'd have no way of knowing, correct?
I guess.
Because what a screenshot ultimately becomes is like a photo, correct?
Correct.
It's not like you can edit it, right? I mean, the most that you can do is what we saw on the other photo that was displayed, which is kind of crossing out with a magic marker somebody's face or a time, right? That would be how you'd have to alter it, right?
Correct.
Now, I had asked you if prior to getting rid of your old phone and getting the new one, if law enforcement ever asked you to, go through the phone themselves, and you had said no, right?
Yes, they did not do that.
And they never asked to do an extraction on the old phone, correct?
No.
What about the new phone that you now have that you got in December? Have the state police ever asked to do, have they ever asked to look through that phone?
They look, no, I don't think so.
You provided the screenshot that was shown to the jury today on August 25th when you talked to the state police in this case, right, of 2023?
Correct.
And when you provided them that screenshot, did they say, hey, by the way, can I look at your phone to see if it's on there?
Objection.
I'll allow that. Did they say that to you?
I don't remember.
You don't
In any case,
remember?
You never physically showed them your phone, right?
No.
You don't recall clicking on that text message app, the green app with the kind of white speech bubble. You didn't click on that and then click on the Colin Albert conversation and say, here it is, did you?
No.
And in addition to not asking you
What? Why are you stopping him, Judge? There's nothing wrong with stopping him here. Did StreamYard go down again, guys? All right. Wait, are you guys fucking with me, or are you listening to the? Because they went to sidebar. Damn it. Okay. Mizinski, we'll get to this in 1 second. I'll be right back. We're going to have to StreamYard is. All right. So Mizinski said, you're not a fan of the way the defense is going after this witness. Well, her family does a lot of sketchy stuff here. So they kind of have to go after her. Guys, it's all paused. You can't hear them anyway. So you can't hear them. these people destroyed evidence. They were interacting with the law enforcement on a very improper scale. They have personal relationships. So, yeah, I mean, it's totally going after her. I mean, her mom and dad did a lot of sketchy crap this night. So, you may not like it, but there's a lot of sketchy stuff going on right now. A lot.
But in any case, you never physically showed them your phone, right?
No.
You don't recall clicking on that text message app, the green app with the kind of white speech bubble. You didn't click on that and then click on the Colin Albert conversation and say, here it is, did you?
No.
And in addition to not asking you to see your new phone, they also did not ask you to do an extraction of your new phone, correct?
Correct.
And at some point in time, you realized that you'd have to be a witness in this case and have the unfortunate incident of having to talk to me, right?
Objection.
I'm going to see Counsel at sidebar for just a minute on this.
So let's see. No, I said her parents have not yet testified, but her parents are heavily involved in this, and they've done a lot of sketchy stuff as well. So yes, them hammering her only makes sense because this girl is around one of the possible other third parties who committed the crime and severely injured John O'Keefe. So I think it's totally reasonable to go after her. You may not like it, but this is how sausage is made. And then Kat, not Williams, for 5 memberships. Thank you very much for your support. And thank you for your generosity. Very, very much. Thank you. Oh, we'll get to this in a second, Ken.
Okay, and just to wrap this up, to this day, no extraction has been done on your phone, correct?
That's correct.
Correct.
That beeping comes from
Now-
the courtroom chat.
When you had that Zoom interview on August 25th, you told the trooper that you drove Colin straight to his house after you picked him up on January 29th, and then you went straight home, correct?
Yes, I believe.
And you have previously testified back in August of 2023 that you believe you dropped Colin Albert off at his home at around 12:15, 12:20 or so?
Correct.
And when you left, by the way, you're very familiar with 34 Fairview, right?
Correct.
That's family, correct?
Correct.
Been over there many, many, many times, correct?
Correct.
And you're familiar with the neighborhood in terms of the streets that are around there, right?
Correct.
And you've lived in Canton your whole life?
Yes. Yeah.
When you were a baby, you were in Stoughton?
Yes.
Basically, you're a Canton girl, right?
Yes.
And can you tell the jury the route that you took home from 34 Fairview, or actually strike that, the route that you took to Colin Albert's house when you left 34 Fairview on January 29th?
I don't remember specifically, but I would believe I drove up Fairview, then sorry, I don't know the streets.
If I suggested to you that the street closest to 34 Fairview was Cedar Crest, and the one on the other side is Chapman. Does that refresh your memory?
Yeah, so Chapman.
Okay, so
I
you would have
believe.
gone up and gone to Chapman and taken a right or a left?
Really bad with directions. When I got there, I went to the center of town, his house. I don't know specifically which way. I'm trying to think of it. I can't picture it.
Yes.
Are you familiar with Washington Street in Canton?
Yes.
Would you have wound up on Washington Street?
Yes.
All right. And you're aware that the Canton Library is on the corner of Washington and Sherman Street? Does that make sense?
Yes.
So you would have passed by the
Just go to
library?
read books,
Yes.
chat.
Now, with regard to whether you went straight home, Did you, by the way, when you went home, did you stay there
Yes, I believe so.
for in the rest of the night?
Yes.
Okay, and what time do you say that you arrived at home?
I'm not sure. Before around 12:30ish.
Okay. With regard to Life 360, would you agree with me that if you go on that app and you're trying to figure out where somebody in your family is, there's and let's say you want to know if somebody's home. There's like a circle that surrounds your home, correct?
Yes.
So once you enter that circle, you know that Life 360 gives an alert that said you arrived at home. Even though you're physically not walking in the door, you're within that circle, and that's the home circle, right?
Yes.
On January 29th of 2022, at 12:04 and 53 seconds, you arrived within that home circle, correct?
Correct.
And then at 12:06 and 55 seconds on January 29th, you left that home circle, correct?
Correct.
And then on January 29th of 2022 at 12:23 and 14 seconds, you completed a 7-mile drive where your top speed was 42 miles an hour. Does that make sense?
Correct.
And then you left home
Audio's fucked again. Damn it. Holy Jesus on a cracker. What is going on with StreamYard? This is entirely a StreamYard problem now. I don't know what's wrong, chat. I restarted everything, so everybody's like IT feeler bugs already wanted it done. And I got out of this on that. I'm like, I did everything. I did everything you guys wanted. Something's just not working right. Yeah.
where your top speed was 42 miles an hour. Does that make sense?
Correct.
And then you left home on January 29th of 2022 at 12:23 and 14 seconds as well. And what that probably means, reading between the lines, is that you entered that home circle, but then you didn't go home. You went through the home circle and completed a 7-mile drive somewhere, right?
I guess I thought I went home. I'm
Objection,
not.
Your Honor.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't hear your answer.
I believe I went home.
Okay.
I was completing my drive at my house.
All right, but at 12:26 a.m. on January 29th, you left home again, right?
Objection, Your Honor.
Did you leave home?
I don't know. I don't remember.
All right. And at 12:26 a.m. and 12 seconds, you arrived at the Canton High School, correct?
No.
On January 29th of 2022, at 12:26 and 55 seconds, you completed a 1-mile drive where your top speed was 43 miles per hour, right?
I don't believe so.
And then at 12:26 and 55 seconds on January 29th, you left Canton High School and arrived at home on January 29th of 2022 at 12:29 and 28 seconds, correct?
I do not know.
And then after arriving home again on January 29th of 2022 at 12:29 and 29 seconds, you completed a 12-mile drive on January 29th of 2022 at 12:31 and 22 seconds. Did you not?
No.
And then you left home on January 29th of 2022 at 1:08 and 15 seconds, right?
I don't believe so.
And ultimately, you went through the home bubble and the Canton High School bubble, and you arrived at Canton High School on January 29th of 2022 at 1:28 in the morning and 8 seconds.
Can I see what you're referring to?
Sure. May I approach you on?
Yes.
You probably don't need these, right?
No, I'm good.
Okay, and to make it easy, I mean, you can read the whole thing, but where it says record 16 is what I just asked you about, but feel free to read the whole thing.
Thank you.
And if you would, read it silently to yourself and look up at me when you're done. Oh, I'm sorry, you're right. Sorry. May I approach?
Yes.
Did that help refresh your memory on where you were that night?
No.
Do you still dispute that you went straight home and didn't leave there?
Objection.
Sustained.
And finally, I had just asked you about arriving at Canton High School on January 29th of 2022 at 1:28 and 8 seconds. You arrived at home, within that home bubble, on January 29th of 2022 at 1:30 in the morning and 26 seconds, correct?
What time did it say I arrived at high school?
1:30 in the morning and 26 seconds.
And what time did it say I arrived at high school?
The high school was 1:28 and 8 seconds.
It wouldn't have taken me 2 minutes to go from the high school to my house. I'm
Well,
confused.
with regard to the high school was also one of the bubbles, one of the areas where you could be, right, on Life 360?
No.
If I may.
Yes.
Okay. Did you say that on Life 360, the Canton High School is not one of the areas that you're tracked in?
What do you mean?
So do you remember we were talking earlier about?
Oh, like put in a location, like that was
Yeah, there
home,
are
that was
multiple
high school.
locations, like, if your mother's looking for you, where are you?
Yes,
Well, you're at D&E Pizza, you're at high school, you're at, home, right? I mean, those could be categories.
correct,
You've agreed that home was one of the categories.
correct.
And having reviewed that, the Canton High School is also one of the categories, correct?
I believe so.
All right. And on January 29th of 2022, the last entry is that you completed a 12-mile drive on January 29th of 2022 at 1:32 in the morning and 23 seconds. And that's the end of the activity. Do you agree with me that that's when you finally stopped that night?
I don't recall.
If I may have a moment.
Yes.
No further questions. Thank you, Ron.
All right, Mr. Lally.
Thank you.
Unhung Hero brings up a very interesting thing here, guys. I was in the team that records the location data used by Life 360. Look up Arity. It's an Allstate subsidiary. The data is accurate enough to give insurance discounts. Yeah. Wow. Kind of what I thought. Kind of what I thought there. Interesting. Interesting stuff. Thank you, Unhung. That's good to know.
Now, Ms. McCabe, with regard to, did you get rid of your prior iPhone or did you upgrade your iPhone?
Upgrade.
And that would have been in December of 2022, is that correct?
Yes, I believe so.
Was it sometime around Christmas?
Yeah, probably.
And that could have been a present as far as getting a new iPhone or upgrading your iPhone?
Yes.
Now, as far as any of the information that you were shown as far as the screenshot, did you in any way, shape, or form alter or delete any of the content within that text message from January 28th and the 29th with Colin Allen?
No.
No.
And
Of course, you can say no. No.
with reference to changing times or time zones or anything on text messages, before Mr. Yannetti asked you any of those questions, were you aware of any of those things as things that you could do with your phone?
No.
With regard to Life 360, what, if any, knowledge do you have as far as the accuracy of sort of the timestamps that are contained within that app?
Well, I'm not sure, but on the photo he showed me, it says like turn Wi-Fi on. So that like remind Allie to turn Wi-Fi on. So that could have affected the accuracy.
And that was on literally every single one of the alerts that was on that page that he showed you?
Every single one.
Now, Canton High School, do you know what street that's on?
Washington Street, I believe.
And
Yeah.
about how far a ride is it from Canton High School to your house?
7-8 minutes, 10. I'm not sure.
You were in the bubble of Canton High School at 1:28 in the morning. Could you have possibly been in the bubble of your home at 1:30 in the morning?
No.
And unless you were going 90 miles an hour in a snowstorm?
No.
Wait, how do you know if you don't know any of the stuff?
Now, you were asked some questions about that time frame of August of 2023 when you were asked and you turned over sort of screenshots to troopers from the state police, correct?
Correct.
You were asked about previous times indicating that you weren't asked and it wasn't relevant, correct?
Correct.
Now, do you know why you were asked in August of 2023 versus any prior time period?
Because Colin Albert wasn't in the house, and then it was brought up here that he was.
And brought up where?
By the defense.
And around that time of August 2023?
I believe so. Yes.
And with reference to relevancy, is that what you were talking about?
Correct.
And what, if anything else, you're close friends with Colin Albert, is that correct?
Correct.
What, if anything else, has either your family or Colin Albert and his family undergone over the course of the pendency of this case?
Objection.
No, the door's been opened. I'm allowing it.
Well, basically harassment.
And harassment by who?
Bloggers, people online.
And what, if anything, in relation to Colin Albert being in the house has occurred as far as the harassment that you're talking
Can you rephrase?
about? With reference to what you were talking about as far as the relevancy of Colin Albert being in the house at that time, what, if any, harassment was there in relation to that and in relation to Colin?
Well,
Objection.
No, go ahead. She can answer.
Colin wasn't at the house, so he's being harassed he was not at the house when John was there, so I drove him home. So the people are harassing him saying he was at the house when it's not true.
When you speak about harassment, what specifically type of harassment are we
Constant phone calls, emails, awful messages.
Objection.
I'll allow it.
Let's not Kara Reed. So what does it matter?
Focus on this witness, not Colin Albert at this point.
As far as you and your family, what if any type of harassment have you received?
People showing up at our house, people emailing my school.
Guys, remember last night when I talked about the dumb fuck juice? Well, now Turtle Boy did all that, and now it's coming into the trial. So, Turtle Boy, cheers. Chug-a-lug, chug-a-lug. Glug, 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 glug. Guzzle, guzzle, guzzle that dumb fuck juice. That's why you don't do what he did. Now it's in the trial.
Just like a lot of harassment. Can I have a moment, please?
Sure.
This is why you don't interfere in a criminal trial. That's why our trial expert Clyde is here. He's like, don't do what Turtle Boy did. Woof, woof.
Okay, I'm sorry. I have some, thank you.
Darby's like what? Blasting
how long
phone
a
numbers
period of
on the
time is that?
internet and then going to everybody's house. Like,
Very long time.
that's what he did.
Thank you. I have no further.
I have nothing further.
All right, Ms. McCabe, you're all set.
And here's the cool thing. She might be a
Mr.
faker,
Lally.
but you know what? That jury thinks that's 100% real. She's faking. The jury's going to think that's real. The jury's going to think that's real. So it doesn't matter. And then Darby says, like, what? No, like blasting out the phone numbers of witnesses in a criminal matter to the internet, taking a mob of 200 people to their house. You know, like kind of things you wouldn't do in a murder case. Just stupid stuff. Turtle Boy is at times Karen's best advocate, but also her worst enemy. So it's like a Jungian thing. No recross allowed. He just didn't want it. He didn't want anything. So that's why he didn't want it. Walter Malone is right. This is why you don't touch the cows. Do not touch the cows, chat. Don't touch the cows. All right, here we go.
Yes, Ron. Call multiple call Colin Albert to the stand.
Oh, this is going to be good. We're going to end the day with Colin Albert. Macaulay, get the rope. Turtle Boy is Aiden Carney. He is an independent journalist who supports Karen Reed and believes she's innocent. And he stirred a whole mess of shit up. And now he's facing intimidation charges on his own.
Step right up there. Oh, just step on me. Remain standing and face the crowd.
You saw us with the evidence
Colin.
recorded during the case now hearing the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
This will be good, chat. Also, by the way, Clyde says hello, and nobody said hi to Clyde. You're gonna make him cry. It looks like a douchebag.
Whenever you're ready, Mr. Lally.
Thank you. Good afternoon, sir.
How are you?
Could you please state your name and spell your last name?
Colin Albert, Albert.
And where do you live, sir?
Canton, Mass.
And how long have you lived in Canada?
My whole life.
And who, if anyone, do you live in Canada with?
I live with my mother, my father, and my two brothers,
And your mother and your father, what are their names?
Julie and Chris Albert.
And your brothers, what are their names?
Chris and Dylan Albert.
And as far as within the age of you and your two brothers, where do you fall in that?
I am the middle child.
And how old are you, sir?
I'm 20 years old.
We'll get to this,
And,
John.
do you work? Do you go to school?
I go to school at Bridgewater State.
And what year are you in?
I am going into my junior year.
Now, sir, if I could turn your attention to January 28th.
This could be the killer.
29th of 2022. Do you recall those days?
Yes.
Do you recall what days of the week they were?
I do not.
Do you recall whether it was a weekday, weekend?
Weekend.
And turning your
Pretty
attention
much,
to,
Darby. That's the theory.
Evening of January 28th. Do you recall where you went that night?
Yes, I do.
And just to be clear, around that time, Were you in college? Were you in high school? What grade were you in?
I was a senior in high school.
So end of January, you would have been about 4 months away or so from graduation, correct?
Yes, sir.
And on that evening, where did you, at some point, did you leave your home and go out?
Yes, I did.
And do you recall about what time it was that you went out?
I do not remember.
Do you recall whether it was light or dark when you went out?
It was dark.
And where did you, upon leaving your house, where did you go?
I went to one of my buddy's houses.
And that buddy, what was his,
Mike.
and where does Mike live in relation to you?
Can you rephrase that?
Does Mike live in Canton as well?
Yes, he does.
And about how far is it from your house to Mike's house?
About like 7-8 minutes.
And when you got to Mike's house, was it just you and Mike, or who, if anyone else, was there?
I do not remember who was there.
Was there more than just the two of you?
Yes.
And generally speaking, when you got to Mike's house, what is it that you did when you got there?
No, Bubba. I need you like over here.
I do not remember.
I got you, class. I got you.
Now, as far as
Right, I got you.
how you got from your house to Mike's house, do you recall how you got there?
No, I do not remember.
Let me ask you this. Did you walk? Did you drive? Did you get a ride?
I got a ride.
Do you recall who you got a ride from?
No.
And when you, do you recall, let me ask you this, as far as that particular night that you went out, did you drink any alcoholic beverages while you were out?
Yes.
And did you drink any of those at Mike's house?
Yes.
And do you recall generally what you were drinking that night?
Bud Light.
And when you were at Mike's house on that particular evening, do you recall about how long you were there for?
A few hours.
And do you recall how much you had to drink while you were at Mike's house?
I do not remember.
And so in reference to you going out and going over Mike's house and having some beers over there, is that why you didn't drive?
Yes.
So you got a ride from someone over to Mike's house, you spent some hours there, and then do you recall where you went from there?
I went to my uncle's house.
And fair to say you have a relatively large extended family within Canton, is that correct?
Yes.
And so when you say you went to your uncle's house, which uncle's house did you go to?
My Uncle Brian.
And that would be same last name as yourself, so Brian Albert.
Yes.
And how is he your uncle? Sort of how is he related to you?
He is my father's brother.
And why did you go to your uncle's house that night?
It was my cousin Brian's birthday, so I went over to celebrate for a little bit with him.
And so that would be Brian Albert Jr., is that right?
Sir.
And you know how old your cousin Brian Albert Jr. was turning on that night?
I do not know.
When do you recall how you got from Mike's house to your uncle's house?
I believe Allie McCabe.
And do you know the address as far as your uncle's house?
34 Fairview Road.
Is that somewhere, your family's house, is that somewhere that you had been before?
Yes.
And so your memory is that Allie McCabe gave you a ride from Mike's house to the house on Fairview?
From what I remember, yes.
Now, Allie McCabe, as far as who is that to you? Or what, if any, kind of relationship do you have with Allie McCabe?
It is my cousin's cousin. So not technically my cousin, but we're close and like we do family events and stuff like that together.
She's a cousin.
And you and Miss McCabe, are you in the same grade?
Yes.
And how long have you known each
My whole entire life.
other? So not blood related, but someone that you see at
Hi,
family
buddy.
events.
You want
Yes.
down, I'll put you down.
And someone that was in the same grade and went to the same school as you?
Correct.
And that school, which school did you go to at that time?
Canton High School.
And do you recall about
Yes,
what time it
cousin
was that
stuff.
you arrived at the house on Fairview?
Between 10:30 and 11 at night.
And did you have at that time any kind of curfew or time that you had to be home from your parents?
Usually around like right around before midnight.
And so was it like a hard fast, like 12 o'clock, if you're not here, you're grounded, or was it sort of around that time?
Just around midnight.
And so after, when you arrive there, you go into the house, is that right?
Yes.
And the house at 34 Fairview has a couple of different ways to get in the house in the front, is that correct?
Correct.
And do you recall which way that you went in that evening?
The side door near the garage.
And when you come into the house, where did you go within the house? What room did you go into?
The living room,
And then from the living room, where else did you go within the house?
like the kitchen area.
And within the kitchen area of the house, who, if anyone else, was present in the kitchen?
From what I remember, my cousin Brian, Emily Fabiano, Sarah Levinson, and Catherine Duty, from what I remember that night.
Is it possible there were other people there that you just don't recall?
Yes.
And where were they situated, sort of in the kitchen dining room area?
Like sitting around the kitchen table, I would say.
Now, after you arrived there, well, when you arrived there, what is it that they were doing when you walked in?
Just listening to music and having a couple of drinks.
And you come in, you greet people, is that correct?
Yes.
Now, the other people that you talked about, as far as beyond your cousin Brian Albert Jr., did you know those?
Why are we
other people?
buffering?
I knew of them.
What the heck?
I wasn't friends with them or anything.
Fair to say they were older than you were, is that correct?
Correct.
So, like Miss Levin
What's the deal?
would have been
Come on now.
older than you by at least a few years at that point.
Yes.
And the same with reference to, I believe you said Miss Fabiano and Miss Duty, is that correct?
Correct.
Now, when you arrive at the house, did you have any other drinks once you got there?
Yes.
And do you recall what, if anything, you drank once you got
Bud Light.
there? So same as you were having before?
Correct.
You know how many that you had while you were at 34 Fairview?
I do not remember.
And over the course of the evening, whether it was at Mike's house or in between, or when you got to 34 Fairview, did you feel yourself as far as like overly intoxicated or drunk or anything like that?
No.
And as far as the other people that you observed at the house that night, does anybody stick out to you as being overly intoxicated or fall down drunk or anything like that?
No.
Now, with reference to when you came into the house, you mentioned there was music playing. How would you describe sort of the general mood within the house?
It was happy. It was, yeah.
Now, as far as that area where you first observed the people around the table in the kitchen dining room area when you came in, did you ever see anybody else go anywhere else in the house?
Not that I remember.
Did you yourself go anywhere else in the house?
No.
At any point in time in the evening while you were there, did you go upstairs or downstairs in the basement or out in the backyard or anywhere else besides the kitchen dining room area?
No.
Beyond maybe the restroom at some point?
Yeah. Other than that, no.
And about how long were you at your uncle's house that night to celebrate your cousin's birthday?
Probably around like an hour and a half.
And so about what time would it have been that you left?
12:10.
And with respect to your leaving the house, who, if anyone, did you contact to facilitate?
Rephrase.
Let me ask it in a much easier, better way. Okay. As far as your plans were concerned, as far as leaving the house, who, if anyone, did you reach out to get a ride from the house?
My friend Allie McCabe.
And how did you reach out to her?
I texted her.
And do you recall whether or not you had any sort of other communication? Well, let me step back and ask it this way. At that point in time, in January of 2022, you had Ms. McCabe's information saved as a contact in your phone, is that correct?
Correct.
And on prior occasions, had you had a chance to, call that number from your cell phone that you had programmed in as Allie McCabe?
Correct.
And when you called that number, who, if anyone, answered the phone?
Allie.
Now, with respect to text communications, had you had text communications with that contact in your phone as Allie McCabe prior to that date of January 28th?
Yes.
And when you had those conversations, did you then also have subsequent sort of in-person conversations with Allie McCabe as well?
Yes.
And during those in-person conversations, was there any reference or anything talked about content that had been previously sent and communicated? via
Yes.
No.
Let me ask it in a better way. So
Asked
you
and
would have
answered.
text
I
communications
thought,
with the person you put in as a contact as Ally McCabe, correct?
Yes.
And then subsequent to having those text communications, you would then speak to her either in person or over the phone, correct?
Objection.
The objection is sustained. Watch the form of your questions.
Following those text communications with the person that you had input in your phone, what, if any, verbal conversations would you have in reference to the content of the text communication?
I'm not sure what you're asking. But
Did you talk to her in person about something you had talked to her about in text?
no.
Now, with reference on that specific date of January 28th, was text communications the only means by which you communicated with Ally McCabe?
From what I remember, yeah.
And were there other means by which you would typically communicate with her?
If she wasn't answering a text, I'd give her a call. Yeah.
And were there apps or anything like that on your phone that you would communicate with her as well?
Snapchat sometimes.
Now, with respect to Snapchat and your family, specifically your cousins, what, if any, sort of group Snapchat chains were there with respect to your family?
Yes.
And specifically, who were those sort of group Snapchat chains? Who was included within it?
I have a Snapchat group chat with my cousins.
And you have cousins on basically your father's side and your mother's side, correct?
Not on my mother's side, no.
You have no cousins on your mother's side?
No.
And with respect to the cousins on your father's side, would it be all of your cousins that were included within that?
Not all of them, no.
And so who of your cousins would be included on those kind of group Snapchat chains?
My older brother, Chris, my younger brother, Dylan, my cousin, Kevin, Brian, Brendan, Caitlin, Kayla, and I believe that is it.
And if you recall, was there any
but I think it's still
communication on that group Snapchat?
Snapchat groups. Like,
Brian Jr.'s
this is just
birthday
awful. Oh my God.
Date of January 28th.
They're going to lie.
No,
here.
not that I remember.
Now, with
Oh.
respect, so you reached out to Ms. McCabe via text, is that correct?
Yes.
She agrees to pick you up.
Yes.
And at some point, are you made aware that she's at the home?
Yes.
And how is it that she makes you aware that she's at the home?
I got a text message from her that says I'm here.
And at any point in time while you were in the home, did Ms. McCabe come inside the home?
No.
And so after you received that text message from Ms. McCabe, did you respond?
Yes.
And do you recall what you responded?
Come in.
And from that communication, after you sent that, about how long was it between the time that you sent that and the time that you came out?
Between 30 seconds and a minute, I'd say.
And when you came out of the house, do you recall which door you came out at that point?
The side door next to the garage.
And when you came out that door, who, if anyone, did you encounter as you were coming out?
As I was walking out, I saw my Uncle Brian and my Aunt Nicole.
And you were going out, and what were they doing?
They were coming in.
And in addition to your Uncle Brian and your Aunt Nicole, was there anybody else that you recall that was with them when they came into the house?
No, not that I remember.
And what, if any, exchange did you have with your uncle and your aunt as you were going out and they were coming?
I just said, I'm going home. My mom wants me home. I love you guys. Bye.
And you then went outside of the house, is that correct?
Correct.
And did you see Ms. McCabe outside?
Yes.
And where was she where was her vehicle in relation to the house?
In the driveway.
Now, do you recall what type of vehicle Ms. McCabe was driving on that particular night or had at that time?
I believe it was the blue Ford that they had.
And was that a sedan? Was that an SUV? What type of?
All right, guys, sound's going again. Hold on. Let's chill ourselves out here. I heard everybody. I heard everyone. It takes me a second to click it. It heard everybody. Takes me a second to click through. My apologies. I do not know why StreamYard is doing this today. It's never done this any other day we've ever had it. Jason, I'll get this question in a second. But that's a very good question. Could a different prosecutor do a better job? I think they might do it differently, but we'll see here. Hold on. Let's go.
A lot younger. I don't know the exact age difference, but
So you were in high school, they would have been some grade far below.
yes.
Now, as far as your relationship with Mr. O'Keefe, your neighbor, about how often would it be that you would see him?
Not often. I'd drive by every now and then. He'd be outside and I would wave. He'd wave back. That was pretty much it.
And during the time that you lived on Meadows Ave or a couple months subsequent to that, is there ever any animosity or any sort of arguments or anything that you would ever had with Mr. O'Keefe?
Never.
And how would you describe Mr. O'Keefe from your perspective as far as how would you describe him as a person?
A nice guy, a good guy.
Now, with respect to, if I could bring you back to Fairview Road on January 28th and 29th of 2022. Obviously, you were familiar with Mr. O'Keefe at that point.
Yes.
And at any point in time that you were in that home, did you see Mr. O'Keefe inside the home?
No.
At any point in time that you were outside of the home, going in, coming out, at any point in time did you see Mr. O'Keefe?
No.
At any point in time on the evening of January 28th into January 29th, 2022, did you see Mr. O'Keefe anywhere?
No.
And at that time, at end of January 2022, were you aware of or did you know anybody by the name of Karen?
Yes.
And how did you know her?
I knew that she dated Mr. O'Keefe.
And had you had any sort of prior interactions with Ms. Reed prior to January 28th?
Not that I remember, no.
Did you know what she looked like?
Not really.
Do you know what a woman looks like?
As far as any interactions, would that be just sort of driving by the house?
Yeah. Maybe drive by, wave. That was about it.
I may have one moment.
Yes.
Now, as far as that sort of reaching out to Ms. McCabe on that particular evening, was that something that you had done before?
Yeah.
Is that something that sort of you and your friend group did together, as far as if somebody was out and driving around and somebody else was maybe drinking somewhere, they could contact them for a ride?
Yes, correct.
That was as opposed to somebody drinking and then getting behind the wheel and driving, correct?
Exactly.
Now, sir, some point in July of 2023, did you have occasion to meet with any troopers from the state police in regard to that evening of January 28th and 29th?
Say the date again.
Some point in July of 2023, did you meet with any troopers from the state police?
No.
At some point subsequent to that date of January 28th, 29th, did you meet with any troopers from the state police?
Yes.
And you were asked questions and you answered them, is that correct?
Correct.
And following that conversation or interview that you had with troopers from the state police, what, if anything, did you provide them with reference to your phone?
Can you rephrase that? Sorry.
At some point, did you provide them with a screenshot of a text communication between yourself and Ms. McCabe?
Yes.
And was that something that you took a screenshot on your own phone and then were able to then provide it to them?
Correct.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
All right. Oh,
So showing you a document, just ask you to look at it and then look up when you're finished. And do you recognize that, sir?
Yes.
What do you recognize that?
My text messages between Allie that night.
And what's contained on that, is that a fair and accurate portrayal of what you recall as far as the text messages, or what was on your phone as far as what you took a screenshot of the text messages between you and Allie McCabe that night?
Yes, sir.
I approach again, Your Honor? Yes. I'm going to seek to introduce in a minute.
Mr. Jackson?
Yeah, one moment.
Sure.
all right, chat. So there's while we're reading. Oh, I'm just gonna get through that too
All
quick.
right. And jurors, remember the instruction I gave you about the text messages. Thank you. Okay.
Exhibit 84.
Your Honor, may I approach this to return to the
Yes.
witness? Your Honor, with the court's permission, may I publish this for the jury?
Okay.
Sir, what's up on the screen, is that what you have before you as Exhibit 84?
Yes.
And the contact that's listed at the top states out, is that correct?
Correct.
Is that how you had Ms. McCabe programmed into your phone?
Correct.
And from this, there's two sets of communications, one contained blue bubbles and one contained non-blue bubbles, correct?
Yes.
If you know the blue bubbles, is that you or is that Ms. McCabe or who's?
That's me.
So the other side would be Ms. McCabe, is that correct?
Correct.
There's also times that are stamped or associated with these text bubbles and with the text communications from Ms. McCabe.
Yes.
And if I could direct your attention, and maybe easier if you're looking at the paper in front of you, but just sort of starting from the top, January 28, 2022, if you could read for the jury what the content is, what the time is, and indicate who is communicating.
At 11:54, I texted Allie and said, "You can get me now, period." At 11:54, I texted her again and said, "If easier." At 11:55, Allie texted me back and said, "Okay, I am driving people home now." At 11:55, I said, "Word." And then at 11:55, I said, "Get me after." At 11:55, Allie wrote back, "KK." And then at 12:10 a.m., Allie wrote, "Here." And at 12:10 a.m., I wrote back, "Okay."
It's coming, you can take that. And Your Honor, may I approach this to retrieve the exhibit?
Yes.
Now, sir, with respect to that last communication that you sent as far as okay, how long after that message was sent did you then go out to the car where Allie was?
Right after, I'd say around 30 seconds.
And Your Honor, may I approach the witness again?
Yes.
Sir, I'm showing you what's been marked as exhibits 82 and 83. Again, I just asked you to take a look at those and look up for you. And do you recognize those, sir?
Yep.
And what do you recognize those?
Say that again.
What is in those photos?
A picture of me and my aunt, and a picture of me by myself.
And do you recall sort of when those photographs were taken?
Yes, February 11th.
And why is it that you recall that, well, let me ask you this. As far as February 11th was concerned, where were you that evening?
I was at my uncle's house.
And why were you at your uncle's house on that evening?
My cousin was coming home for leave from the Marine Corps, so we had a little gathering for him.
And just to be clear, when you say your uncle, you're talking about your uncle Brian Albert again?
Correct.
Your cousin that was
My
coming
earlobe
home
can't
from
speak
the
potentially
Marines,
because of you, Sean.
What's his name?
Jack Albert.
And so on that evening, you were over that house, is that correct?
Correct.
And the first picture in exhibit, I believe it's 82, is that correct? You and your aunt Nicole?
Correct.
And what's contained on there, is that a fair and accurate portrayal of sort of what you looked like as far as your arms, your hands, your face, all of those things on that date of February 11th?
Correct.
And the second photograph is again you by yourself, is that correct?
Correct.
And from that photograph, again, is that a fair and accurate portrayal of what you look like on February 11th?
Yes.
And from the second photograph in, if you know, where was that taken within the home of your uncle?
In the library at 34 Fairview.
And again, that library or any of the other rooms within the house beyond the kitchen, the dining room, or possibly the restroom, did you go into any other areas of the house on that night of January 28th into January 29th?
No.
Can I approach this to retrieve your honor?
Yes.
One moment, John.
Okay.
Now, Mr. Albert, just one last question. When it came to your arrival at 34 Fairview Road on the evening of, or the early morning of January 29th, when you were leaving, beyond your Uncle Brian and your Aunt Nicole, did you see anybody else older than yourself or anybody else related to that group come into the house that evening?
No.
Thank you, sir. I have nothing further.
Mr. Jackson, do you want to begin or wait until the morning?
Your Honor, it probably makes more sense to wait as well.
Ooh,
Thank you.
he's gonna save that for the morning.
Mr. Albert, I'm going to wait until the jury.
Oh,
until the
yes,
jurors
cross is
are
gonna
ready.
start, but not till tomorrow.
All right, jurors, I do have to caution you, please do not discuss this case with anyone. Do not do any independent
please.
research or investigation into the case. If you happen to see, hear, or read anything about the case, please disregard it and let us know. Tomorrow's a half day. We'll see you tomorrow morning.
Court, all rise. Please be seated. Court's back in session.
All right. Do you need me for anything? Any evidentiary issues, any exhibits that we need to go through to avoid sidebar time tomorrow?
Not for the Commonwealth, Your Honor. No.
Not on behalf of Ms. Reed.
Okay. We will start at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Yes, sir.
All right.
All right. Thank you all.
Court, all rise.
Well, that's it, chat.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye. Day 12, chat. Day 12 is in the bag. So what we are going to do? Well, tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., we will be here. Day 13. But we've got some super chats and things to catch up on. Get Larry on. Larry, I don't have Larry's number. I can give him a call, but it's funny. I don't know if he can get on right now. So All right. So what do we have? We have a bunch of chats to catch up on here. Unhung Hero for $2 says, her voice, she's too young for a smoker's voice. Yes. And Walter, I want to say this again. This is why you don't touch the cows. And John said, this may have been distracted, but how was the door opened? I forget exactly what they said here, but yeah, they brought up all the harassment. And you know what? People might think that lady's faking it, but if any of those jurors think she's legitimate, like, this is going to turn into a sideshow. Like I said, Turtle Boy could be the biggest advocate, but also your greatest enemy at the same time. And Darby's saying, what is the defense trying to show? That one of the Albert kids hit the guy, but the police are framing Karen to cover it up? No, actually, it's more of Colin may have done it, or Brian Higgins may have done it, or Brian Albert may have done it. Somebody at that party, maybe everybody at that party, attacked John O'Keefe, and they all lied about it. And because of their associations with the police department, coupled with their associations with Detective Proctor, they all kind of just brushed this under the rug and pinned it on Karen. Yeah, I mean, it is. It is, pretty much. And then Darby says, Sean needs a dog cam to make more super chats. I'm a man of the people. I will never charge for you guys to see Clyde. Clyde is a man of the people. He should be seen. Much as that sounds appealing. Jason says, for $5, a few shekels for some of the Turtle Boy juice and chew toys for Clyde. Well, I'm going to hold off on the dumb fuck juice because I don't feel like drinking it right now. I don't feel like doing any dumb fuck stuff. But thank you. Thank you. We'll get him another bull peen. And then Jason again for $5. Do you think a different prosecutor could be doing a better job, or the facts just crap? I am so confused at this point and lost. Here's what I would say. Like I said last night, do I think I would have handled this differently? You know, I mean, I'd like to think I'd present it differently. Although I think I would have bailed on this case a long time ago. But yes, I think I could have presented this in a more coherent fashion if I truly believed it. And I don't know what Lally's ultimately, he's kind of just stumbling through it. So it's a prosecutor who's picking a bad strategy, but he's also got bad facts. So it's kind of a little bit of both. It's a Hannah Montana answer. You're kind of getting the best of both worlds there. I hope that answers that, Jason. Thank you for the super chat, by the way. Both of them. People who watch Clyde like his butthole on screen. Well, he doesn't do that. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Yes. Yeah, the defense did ask questions why he wasn't questioned and why she didn't turn over the phone. Yes, that did allow them to impact the theory. Yeah, I that could have been it. Either way, it's clear the way the defense has done things, it was going to come in. So, Fetigator, do you think the state will rest this week? I don't think so, because tomorrow's a half day. Friday's a full day. Remember, chat, I've got court in the morning, so I will be back in the afternoon. We'll catch up. One of my arraignments got kicked, so I don't have anything Friday afternoon, which is nice. But I got the morning thing, so we'll have to do it in the afternoon. But yeah, I don't see them resting anytime soon. I mean, they haven't even gotten to the forensic stuff yet. We haven't even gotten to the dead body. Feitz is a Mormon. Jeff is he grew up Mormon and did Mormon missionary work, but I don't think Jeff would consider himself a Mormon now. Like, probably like Mormon culturally, or maybe a name, but it's not a practicing Mormon. Rosie for £5 sterling. The King Sterling. I was going to say long live the king, but he just did his blood for the blood god picture, which I don't know if you guys saw this. This is some Warhammer level stuff here. This is creepy, creepy shit. This is unveiling one of his portraits. It's like, there you go. Oh, somebody tricked me. Where is King Charles? Here we go. Yeah, here you go. Blood for the blood god! Skulls for the skull throne! All the adrenochrome you can give me, chat! He needs all your adrenochrome! All the little children he needs to eat. That's a horrible picture. Oh, but yes, thank you, Rosie. Thank you so very much. Love your stream, Sean and Clyde. Clyde, somebody says they love your streams. Hi, buddy. You want to come here? Come here. Clyde. He's like, now I'm hanging out and sunning. He's sunning himself. So, why am I being arraigned?
You're a funny guy, Sully. I like you. That's why I'm going to kill you last.
So funny. So funny. And they have the crash reconstruction. Yeah. They have Proctor, the ME. They have all kinds of people. £5 of the King Sterling sounds heavy. It does. Self-portrait is a tampon. Yeah, it scared him. I would too. Yes. It looks like that penny from Ghostbusters, kind of. Yes. Decades like, more blood! Yes. More skulls! Oh. That's up there with Obama's hedge portrait. Yeah, it is. That one's a weird one, too. Yes, it's Vigo from Ghostbusters, too. Andrea has some EDB people in chat. I hate them. You know, I understand you might not like the people that are they have in chat, but it, you know, don't know what to say. Sweetness says, why would you have bailed a long ago? This isn't a good case. Even if I thought Karen Reed did it, this is an awful fucking case. I would have asked to well, if it's an old school ejection seat, grab the handles above it and just. Now, some of you are thinking, well, that would have been a really good ejection seat to get you out. But yeah, I would have bailed. I would have bailed. This is a bad case. Gail says, you ever get your hair cut? Saturday morning. Saturday morning. Cheryl Photo for $5 saying, isn't the legal drinking age 21? Why is a teenager allowed to drink and that's okay? Well, in many places, you can drink if you're under the age of 21, as long as your parents are allowing it and you're there. So as long as your parents are with you, you could consume alcohol. But also keep in mind, like, somebody died, so they're not gonna, like, isn't it true you were breaking the law? Just like all these people driving around, like, isn't it true you committed DUI? Yes. Well, and I'm sure a bunch of them ran stop signs too. So, but I understand what you're saying, Cheryl. But these people aren't going to get arrested and jammed up on that stuff. So, thank you for the super chat. Luke says, no, it's not a bad case. That's Turtle Boy disinformation. I think it's overall, it's a horrible. I think it's a horrible case overall. On a wall says, but won't a DA make you do it sometimes? Sure. I personally have been in that boat where my boss told me, go try the goddamn thing. And not those are my words, not his. He's like, go try it. And I'm like, all right. I don't think it's a good idea. He's like, go try, do it, or I'll do it if you won't do it. And that was obviously not going to happen, so I had to go do it. But I was like, I hadn't been working there a year. Lally's been working there probably for better part of 15 years. Like, I'm surprised he doesn't have the ability to say, like, can't we pawn this off? Or maybe he truly believes it. I don't know. Oh, get an F-117 or an F-111's ejection cabin. Yeah. Yeah. If Karen's found not guilty, do you the state will go after anyone else or just shrug and let it go? They're done. If Karen Reed gets found not guilty, who else are they going to go after? They fucked up the rest of this case so bad. And they've been laser focused on Karen Reed for how long now? They have foolishly investigated this case. So it doesn't allow them to pivot. No, this is it. This is their one shot. So Jim says they should have offered her a sweetheart plea deal. I don't know if Karen would take what's your idea of a sweetheart deal? Karen's not pleading anything that says she's responsible for John McKeith's death, I bet. So that's your problem. What are you going to give her? Disorderly conduct? Failure to break in time? A non-moving equipment violation? I don't know. Bill says, does a prosecutor not have an ethical obligation to seek the truth and dismiss if they think the person didn't do it? One would think. And ultimately, when you're a prosecutor, you are only supposed to prosecute cases you think it's beyond a reasonable doubt, but as long as you can prove probable cause, that's the standard. So it's kind of shitty in that regard. And yes, you would think that prosecutors will rationalize anything they can come up with. They will rationalize anything they can come up with to keep a case going. The state is painting themselves on the corner. Yeah, and here's the problem with that when people use that analogy. Paint dries and then you can walk on it. So eventually you can walk out of the corner. Winter Soldier says, why would she take a deal if she didn't do it? Okay. Think about it this way. Here's the math of a plea deal. Option 1, you go to trial. When you go to trial, there's 2 options, win or lose, right? There's 2 options, win or lose. If you win, great. If you lose, you go to prison forever. And ever and ever and ever. And there's a 50% chance that happens. 50-50 odds. If you enter a plea, there is a worst case scenario is you go to prison for 4 years. Let's throw that out there. Maximum of 4 years. But anywhere from no years to 4 years, you might get probation. And in fact, the fact you have no record, the fact everything is in favor of you, you stand a really good chance of getting probation, like 75% chance of getting probation. And then maybe like a 20% chance of getting a year in jail. And then like a 5% chance of getting the 4 years. You're telling me right now you would not seriously entertain that deal? You are a goddamn liar. You would entertain that deal. And I would explain to you, that's a hell of a deal because when you enter a plea, you get to control where you land to an extent. Sure, you're still crash landing it, but you know what? You picked an open field to set her down in. The way I always try to explain it, when you are here you go. All right. Here's actually the best example of it. Okay. Perfect. Actually, here we go. Okay. We're gonna use this as the example. This is an actual runway in Japan called Saba, S-A-B-A. It's super fucking short, right? Okay. You could try to land, and remember, going to trials like landing on a runway. Either you nail the landing and you can stop before you run out of room, or you go over the edge and die. If you land long on the runway, if you land too far down the runway, like right here, and you don't have the brakes in time, you go over the runway and you die. Or you fly back to the mainland and you crash land in a big open field. There's a lot more control there. There's a lot more control. Think about going to trial as like landing a burnt at trial. You are flying an airplane and you have lost all power. And you are flying and you can see the airport from where you are. You have no more power though. Your engines are out. And you're gonna try to land it. All right. And it's surrounded by trees or mountainsides. And if you don't land it right, you smack into the mountain, you're dead. Or you smack into the trees and you're dead. Or way before the mountains and the trees, there's a big old field, and you can go, you know what? I'm going to crash land. It's not what I want, but at least it's safer. The airplane's totaled, and I might get hurt. I might die, but your odds of surviving are very, very high. Like I said, once again, Chad, it's you have to make that calculus. And it's a calculus that a lot of people want to take. Lally says Lally's putting on a binger of a case. Yeah, it's awful. Charlie says, I wouldn't plead to shit if I wasn't guilty. And you know what? I understand that. But here's the thing. And this is a discussion I've always had with all my clients. Are you willing to sit there for the next 25 years? You wake up at, well, Charlie, I'll use an example. You're at MCI Cedar Junction. You're going to wake up every day. Are you going to be like, I made the right decision as you stare out the window from behind the bars? I made the right decision. I took my chance at trial. I feel no regrets. Or are you going to say that for the first 2 or 3 years and go, fuck, I should have taken a plea? That's something you have to think about. That's a gut check. But can you walk on walls? Oh. Darcy saying Attorney Bob Mata and Attorney Ritter were on a podcast last night and had the same confusion as you did today. Weird case. Like I said, that makes me feel so much better. It makes me feel better when I see attorneys I respect and ones that I hold in high regard. And that's pretty much everybody on YouTube that I know of. When they're confused, that makes me feel better that I'm not going the wrong way. What are the odds the judge gives a directed verdict? Slim and none, and Slim just left town. No, that ain't happening. There's a better chance you win the lottery. And hey, it's Wednesday night. Powerball. Get your Powerball ticket. Better chance that happens. Do they have Alfred pleas? Well, that becomes an issue of will the prosecutor accept an Alfred plea? And yes, an Alfred plea is a plea that I'm pleading guilty because I believe I'll lose if I go to trial. And I'm doing this to save myself. Yes, but the problem is when you do an Alfred plea, you're not actually accepting responsibility. And if the prosecutors want you to accept responsibility, they can refuse. They don't have to necessarily accept the plea. The prosecutors say, no, we don't want it. And we're not offering that. Sometimes the court will let you get away with it, but a lot of times If it's not being offered the court, you're kind of stuck with it. Kind of like also wanting to do a no contest plea. Her life's probably ruined even if she's found not guilty. Yeah, but still, it's not that bad. Still better than nothing. You could trust a White Castle fart more than a jury. Nico said, "Someone get this man DCS." That's in Microsoft Flight Simulator, sir. Justice says you're taking this analogy too far. You know what? You might say it's too far, but it makes it clear and you fully understand what we're looking at. That's a clear picture you can have in your mind and you can weigh the decisions. I do hate the plea system. I think a lot of prosecutors should be forced into a suicide pact with what they indict, but that doesn't happen. Charlie says, I can't, I get it. You can't afford DCS and getting married. How about War Thunder? War Thunder's kind of cringe. I don't want to play War Thunder. Otto says Sully did it. Yeah. Well, Sully landed instead of trying to. If Sully would have gone for the airport, he would have hit the buildings. Alpha Box saying you just do a barrel roll. Yeah, that's what works. The legal analysis we deserve. You know what? The legal analysis. This is the, as a practicing attorney, man, this is the real world. This is the real fucking world, chat. I'm telling y'all, this is the real world, man. Charlie says, hell yeah, Walpole is okay. I've heard it's pretty shitty. But okay. Charlie says, stand on your principles. And I understand that. I respect that as long as you're willing to do it. Most of LawTube is highly confused, yeah. Owlfed? No, Alfred. Hold on. Alfred plea. So this is what we're talking about. We're talking about an Alfred plea. All right. And it's from a case called North Carolina v. Alford. And the judge accepted a plea from a defendant who pled guilty while protesting his innocence. It's a special type of plea. Okay. So that is an Alford plea. It's actually an entire case and went to the Supreme Court. And they call it in things in some other states, but most of here in Ohio, it's called an Alford plea. So Alford, not Owlfed. Have you ever seen a directed verdict? Yes, I've gotten one before. Funny thing is, I've seen them a couple of times. I've gotten them a couple times. Well, normally it's usually like in a misdemeanor setting. I've gotten them. It hasn't gone to jury. I got one felony case that got a directed verdict. And then as a prosecutor, I had a case directed verdicted against me. And it was, and I don't disagree. And that was one I was told to take to trial. And yeah, I think it was more of a civil case than what it was. But I mean, there's proof the guy stole, he basically ripped off, took their money and barely did any work. But, the issue about how much work did he perform to make it a civil matter versus a criminal case was kind of up in the air. So it's happened. Yep. The squid for $5 is assuming I'm innocent. I take the deal unless I can afford the best attorneys, and they stand a chance at winning over the jury. If I'm guilty, I take it. that's fine. And it's as long you can remember though. Sometimes the best guys again can't make it work. But yeah, Karen Reed's got some of the best attorneys money could buy. They're doing God's work. They are doing a very good job. Sam A says, please don't ever say guzzling again. I had to tap out yesterday. Guzzle, guzzle, guzzle. Let's see here. Pseudo Snark saying the most garbage cases never get brought because prosecutors refuse them. The slam dunks don't go because people clear they're easy. Most of the deeper in the gray. Yeah. Yeah. That's why Karen Reed's a trial, because it's in the gray. The gray is where the battles are fought. Because if you're clearly vindicated, they dismiss. If you're clearly guilty, generally your guy's gonna plea. And it's that land of the middle. It's that land of the gray. That's where the battle is. It's that gray zone. It's where the battles are fought. It's in the shadows. Oh, yes, you fight in the shadows. Yes, you do. But I was raised by them. The shadows betray you. Not Batman's butler, no. Garrett says different than a forced plea. Well, you can't force a plea. Charles Zimmerman, you were a prosecutor. Yeah, about 2.5 years. Yep. Yep. Yes. Can you explain TUI? TUI's very simple. TUI is basically just you have to basically tap dance how the feds want you to do stuff. There's not a whole getting things from the federal government when they're not a party to the suit. So like if it was a criminal case and the feds were involved, you don't need TUI letters. But when the feds are a third party, it's an entire, support for you're requesting information. And typically you're the prosecutor requesting it. Requesting information, you're requesting that witness be available. So like if the local drug team, the local drug task force went in and hit a house, people that are part of that task force will be an FBI agent, will be detailed to help out with things. And yeah, there were a couple of times where like the FBI hit the house. Like the FBI agent was there in the stack. He hit the house. He found a bunch of the evidence. Well, to subpoena him, I had to submit a TUI letter to the FBI, in the AUSA here in the Cleveland area and say, hey, we kind of need your dude. Is it cool if we have him, please? Ooh, woo, please, we really need him to help put away the bad guy. And usually they're like, okay, cool, you can have him. You might laugh, but those are real. It's a entirely real thing. So it all comes down to the idea that no Department of Justice employees can be forced to testify or provide records or other court documents in any state or federal proceeding if they weren't part of it without the Department of Justice approving it. And they are an island unto themselves. Charlie says Mr. Medicare has been very active on X. Yes, he has. Yes, he has. Sam May says, Ree! Oh. How dependable are public defenders? Pretty good. I mean, I'll say it like this. Public defenders, they may not, at times, a lot of offices are getting better pay and better staffing and comparative abilities, like having investigators and other people in their office to help them. But your public defenders are going to be people who truly believe in fighting the system. They believe that people are entitled to indigent defense. They believe that the system is systemically racist and systemically affects people who are underrepresented and also just the poor. So yes, you're going to get the ideologues there. People are ideologically driven and want to protect you. So people like to say, "Oh, the public pretender" or whatever. No, most public defenders are fucking down for the cause, and they love nothing more than getting one over on the government every fucking chance. They're highly motivated because they lose all the time. Because in most cases they don't win, so they want those dubs every chance they can get. Hairway to Steven says the gray zone that landed Nikolai Mew in prison for life. Yes. Yep. Yep. Okay. Otto says I'm looking it up. Yeah, I had to look up just to make sure I knew. I didn't know what year it was. If you guys asked me about it, I was gonna be like 60s. I don't know. Gosney was in ADA once as well. Yes, he was. Terry says the best thing of the day was when the witness says, "Oh, you mean when the feds came to interview me on May 11th?" Yeah, that was very funny. That was very interesting. Blade says, "Are all public defenders paid the same? Is it like hourly, or they bill line item, or is it salaried?" Like an actual public defender's office is gonna be salaried. They're gonna get paid just like prosecutors are paid salary. Now, there's court-appointed counsel, so like right now, the county I'm in could call me tomorrow and say, "Hey, Sean, will you accept a will you be appointed counsel?" That I bill hourly for. Alpha says that those are in it for the loan payoff. Yeah, but it kind of works out best for everybody. So did this case finally prove cops are swine? Maybe, maybe. Oh, Automata for $2 says guzzlers rise up. Yes. Charlie says, what county is that? Lake County, Ohio. But here's the thing, in Ohio, there's 88 counties, and of the 88 counties, roughly about 80 of them do not have an actual public defender's office. About 80 or so of them, it's just court-appointed counsel because there are no official public defenders. Although in Appalachia, the office of the public defender out of Columbus kind of does work down that way, but a lot of it's court-appointed counsel. PDs are likely paid poorly too. Not so much anymore. Not so much anymore. Most offices are on pay parity with the prosecutor's office, and the counties that have public defender's offices treat them as a county agency, just like the prosecutors. So they're entitled to the county budget, they're entitled to county funding that way, they're staffed, and they pay appropriately. So not always the case. It's getting better and better and better and better. So Karen Reed's case is appointed counsel. Oh no, those are paid. Those guys are retained. Those guys. No, them guys are fighting hard. Anna Wall says sometimes you get a civil attorney. Generally, you shouldn't. You get attorneys who have experience for the appropriate level of felony. You might get an attorney who does a lot of civil stuff, but you generally just don't get the guy who does wills down the street. You actively have to sign up for the list. So that's how it should be. Hmm. You don't want to know how large Karen Reed's attorney's fees are? A lot. A lot. A lot. A lot, a lot, a lot, a lot. Lally has no riz. Are there RICO public defenders? funny. Cindy Lou Who's saying, how much do you think Karen is paying? Oh, over $500,000. Easily, probably close to $1 million. I could see that. I could see that. Especially with all three of those attorneys there. Those are not cheap. Yanetti's not cheap. Jackson isn't cheap. And the girl isn't cheap. Yes, the trial is over for today, Iceman. We're all done. Yeah, sometimes your attorney doesn't show up for traffic court, and that's really frustrating. All right, guys. So we are all caught up. Everything is done. We're done. We're done ski. And where am I? There we are. So where are you guys at here? There's no big bombshells today, but the defense is slowly ripping apart the state, and they are chiseling through all the state's problems here and causing more and more issues. So it's going to be interesting. It'll be very, very interesting to hear the mom and the medical examiner talk about injuries on this stuff. Karen Reed might have insurance that covers her legal expenses. Yeah, but that would have probably run out long by now. 10KB says happening tonight. Tonight will be the members only stream. We'll hang out. We'll probably watch some body cams and just generally kind of relax and have fun. So, guys, if you are members, that'll probably be tonight around like 8:30, 9 o'clock. That will be the goal for tonight. So that will be the plan. Probably, like I said, 8:30, 9 o'clock, we'll be doing that. And we should have a fun time. Should be a lot to talk about. Goal for the gold members. Yeah. So, all right, chat. So with that said, tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., we will do Karen Reed. If you guys are only interested in the trial stream. Oh, okay. Tomorrow. Remember, I'm not even sure if he did it. So, you're still not guilty. Okay, everything, guys, remember, tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., Karen Reed. It's everything we already talked about. I'm trying to do it. Everybody likes the song, but then everybody freaks out they can't hear me. So, I'm trying to figure out the balance here, and I don't know how to do it. So, I will see you guys tomorrow if I don't see it tonight on the member stream.